Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday special. And it's special because it's with Helen and Jay today.
And it's a special day because
Because
it's
it's
Because
Sunday?
your
Yeah, it's my birthday.
Woo!
uh,
birthday.
you don't look
thank
a
you,
day
my
over
friend.
42.
No. Not for another 10 years, Jay.
Yeah.
Age is just a number, and we don't talk about that on this show.
No, well,
Yeah.
apparently not. You turn 36 and you're like, oh no, it's at least 10 years until I'm 42. So now we know that literally you turn 36 and your math skills go right down the Swanee.
No, intentionally.
Intentionally.
I wouldn't do that if there was a deal on the table.
This is
So
very true. This is very,
yeah,
very true.
and I like to lower the number, like the closer we get to do the deal.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Well, in personal news, we exchanged on a deal on Friday, so that's now done. It's
Woo!
Nice.
only taken 10 months.
I know.
Wow, well
So for
done.
people that know us know that that's a lifetime. It never takes us more than 4 weeks to do a deal.
Yeah, I mean it was excruciating, and yeah, proper roller coaster of like doing deal. So, but now the real kind of part of the deal starts. Like all the things before, it's just like negotiating, getting the deal exchanged and stuff. And now it's the real part, getting the planning, uh, splitting things off, and title splitting, and selling things off. So, yeah, happy days on Friday. We exchanged
Yeah.
something like 5:20 p.m. Like it was really close
Wow.
to not exchanging. Yeah. It's probably the kind of deal that Halani would like to fund, maybe.
Ooh.
Hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
It's in-
Yeah.
Ooh. Sounds interesting. Let's chat.
Let's chat. Yeah. How's your week, Alan? What's been happening? Anything um, like, because you've been doing this, the
Recording.
show, right? The recording.
Yeah, full on week. I'm like knackered. I've got little like toothpicks holding my eyelids up. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 3 days, full on days of recording Property Elevator Series 5. And it was really good. We saw lots of different types of deals this time, which made it just much more interesting. Loads of women, lots of lovely ladies coming to pitch their deals. I was really pleased about that. Lots of deals got done, and I might have even done a deal myself.
Nice.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
yeah, that's
Well
really
done.
exciting. That's something different and interesting for me. I've not done something like that before, so can't say more as yet. But yeah, it's really, really interesting for me. Not just a standard deal, something a bit more longevity and a bit of an annuity stream. So
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
it's really
That's
interesting for me.
that's an interesting one.
Yes.
Well,
But we
when
saw
when
land deals, obviously the PD stuff, some commercials, some we saw all types of stuff this time. It was really, really interesting, really. But God, it's knackering. Like we see about kind of 8 or so pitches per day, and you have to go through the numbers and understand the concept. And yeah, it's quite hard going, but it's fun. We laugh a lot. We had a really, really good time doing it.
Nice, really good. And Jay, where you at the moment? You want to share
I'm
bit
in
about your marathon?
Newcastle, yeah, or Sunderland, or Roker, or Seaburn, or I don't know. I'm in the middle of a couple of places because that's where the Great North Half Marathon finishes. So I've come all the way up here just to support my cousin at the finishing line, and then we're driving back home. So yeah. I did yesterday. I think I did just under 400 miles yesterday. The car did 400 miles. We did about 200 each. But yeah.
Wow.
Nice. That's about
I'm
10
waiting for the
marathons.
fish and chip shops to open at midday. I'm by the seaside, so you've got to get some fish and chips by the seaside, surely.
Oh yes, and mushy peas up there. You'll get mushy peas up north.
Oh yes, yeah. Proper gravy, some mushy peas.
Nice one. Okay, great. Well, I guess people might be wondering where Adam is. Adam today is missing because of like possession of his son, and we're trying to work out what to do to make this make him come back and maybe change the time of the Sunday special. And the discussions are ongoing. We'll keep everyone posted. Because yeah, having Adam here is always it adds to the dimensions of the chat. And um, yeah, and it's better for us to discuss the Sunday special supplement with him rather than just out between ourselves. Um, but today we're going to discuss the Sunday supplement ourselves, and obviously we're going to start with the Queen passing and all the thing that follows that, because it's quite a big moment, right?
Mhm.
I guess for you guys, it's it relate completely differently to it than someone like me, because we're from Poland. Like I wasn't born having a queen, but you guys always have the queen, right? And it's a different relationship that for people from abroad, but at the same time, I guess it's like a world news. It's not only a UK news.
Yeah, actually, I was just looking this morning on catching up with Malta news, and the Queen lived there, and Prince Philip lived there when they were first married, 1949 to 1951. There's a big villa that's now actually the government own it and have preserved it. It's considered such a historical monument because they lived there, and that's just been covered in tributes and flowers and which won't last very long in 30-degree heats. Maybe they should have put something else there. But yeah, so I think Malta will be interesting to see how Malta's reacting. But they love the Queen. So
There's been
yeah.
a lot of like mixed opinions on this. Like some people were like celebrating and wishing to the end of the monarchy, and they're like, oh, they cost X number of million a year or something. And it's 83 or 86 million a year, but they generate almost 18. Like they 18, but they generate so much more.
Mm.
They generate so well. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I was looking at it this morning, and like some people are like, oh, it costs somebody, the average taxpayer in the UK, £1.26 a month. So that's the sovereign kind of payment, and then that's also some other bits and pieces. That's the kind of cost of the monarchy. But with tourism and so many other things that it brings, they more than pay for themselves. And it's not like they're still a ruling class. They've got their devolved powers over time. But a friend of mine has got a book that was translated many years ago by Nostradamus. And there's a really interesting couple of chapters in there. So if anybody wants to go and do some independent research, it's a real book. It was translated by a guy called Max. I can't remember his surname. One of the chapters is that Queen Elizabeth will pass away in 2022 to 2023, being either 95 or 96 or 96 or 97, whatever it is. And then 5 years later, Charles III will abdicate the throne and things like that. So those are obviously the two chapters that are the most meaningful.
Wow.
And this was published years ago. This isn't like this wasn't republished 2 days ago. This has been out there for some time. But then it's stuff like that where you just think, how much of this is coincidence, or just how much of it is just like he made like 5,000 predictions and they just decide to print X number of ones or whatever. Because it's easy 50 years ago to go, right, well, what are the chances of someone living to X amount, X age old, right? So a lot of it is calculable, or you'd be able to like give a range and probably be quite successful in that. But yeah, I thought that was really very interesting.
Ooh, I've made notes. I'm going to go and look that up straight after this.
Sunday
Right.
reading, huh?
That's it. The sales of that book are about to jump through the roof. Every conspiracy theorist and it's just going to go absolutely nuts for that book.
Yeah, it's I saw someone on the internet as well that like see, I haven't verified anything, but it was like a screenshot of someone posting on Twitter. The Queen's gonna die 8th of September, and I was in June, but I haven't verified and stuff. But then the guy had to close the account on the 8th of September because he was getting death threats, apparently. So maybe he was reading the book.
Maybe
No.
maybe he read the book. I mean, they didn't stipulate like what month or what day. It was like a generic.
Mm.
But I mean, it seems very close to the bone. But a lot of this stuff is. I mean, I was talking to somebody recently about the is it the Mandela effect?
Yes.
What's
And
that?
it's a strange phenomenon where you watch like a TV show. So like did you ever watch like the original series of Star Trek? You know, where they'd like
Yeah.
a little bit and they'd go, "Beam me up, Scotty." Yeah, remember that? They never actually said "beam me up, Scotty." It would be like 1 to beam up or 3 to beam up. But so many, and that's the Mandela effect. You start filling in gaps. It's not really heuristics, but it's kind of like it's like a mass. It's like not mass hysteria, but it's like a mass recognition where people are like, "This is what it is."
we get this. We get this in Poland with some English songs that we used to listen to. Waka Maka and like people made it all sorts of things, but it was fairly consistent with what people made it mean. But then once you read the text, you're like, no, it's not it.
No, that's not what it says. Yeah.
It's never been that.
Yeah, there's a Star Wars one, isn't there, as well, where it says, "Luke, I am your father," but he doesn't say that. He says something else.
Yeah, he doesn't say Luke.
I am your father.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So like, and like a lot of people just go, "Luke, I am your father," and it's like those aren't the words. But there's like this whole website of these Mandela effects, and like when you go through them, you're like, "Gee," then you have to go and watch, and then you watch, and you're like, "Oh my god, how did I get it so wrong?" But like everyone's like, "I don't know how I got this so wrong. I always believed it was X." That's, and then you've got like have you heard the not rumors, it's like a conspiracy theory that Matt Groening from The Simpsons is a time traveler.
Oh yes, because he's got he had Donald Trump becoming president years before, and that lots of different clips in the Simpsons.
But like the clips relate to like actual things, like going up or down a set of escalators with
escalators, and 9/11 was on in there somehow. Yeah,
it's really random stuff. I mean, we've gone really off the main topic. Well, off any topic we normally discuss.
Maybe Matt Groening is Nostradamus reincarnated.
There you go. There you go.
We should rename the show to Sunday Conspiracy Special.
I can think of a couple of guests we'd have on that would really blow our minds with some of the stuff they think. So
yeah, I wonder how long it would take for us to be banned from Facebook.
Not very long at all, actually. But I mean, this is all kind of like light-hearted, like just this is some random stuff that you kind of see. It's difficult to explain, but yeah,
it's true. Oh wow. Cool. Got a comment from Scott Page on YouTube. They predicted COVID as well in The Simpsons.
They did, yeah. The disease that they were. I can't remember what they were buying, and then someone was had like a cold in a Chinese factory, and like, "Oh, why don't you go home?" He goes, "I go home, I don't get paid." Sneezed. The sneeze germs got into the box. They opened up the box in America, and all of a sudden, everyone's got this thing. Yeah, really strange stuff. But yeah, people, and the guy's just like, no, I just thought I'd write some absurd stuff I'd never think would happen, and it just starts happening. They're like, who would vote for Donald J. Trump? That was his thing. Like, who would do it? It was like the most absurd thing. It was like when they wrote, I can't remember if it was before, But I think they did a sketch about Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming like a governor or something like that.
Oh, right.
It's just not going to happen, or doing a presidential run, it's not going to happen. And they were half right. So yeah, just really weird stuff. But sometimes the craziest thing you can think of can happen. Like the world is capable of being absolutely random and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah. Please tell me there isn't an episode with monkeypox and God. Please. Go there.
And rent controls in Scotland
yeah.
and England.
Well, here's something that's really very interesting. As a bit of a history buff, there have been 2 Charleses, King Charleses, before this one, obviously, because he's King Charles III. The previous 2 King Charleses did one thing: they dissolved Parliament.
Ooh.
So, like, everyone's thinking, is it going to be third time the charm? Is he not going to do it, or is he just going to follow suit with the other 2 Charleses?
But when were the other 2? Do you know, like how long ago?
Oh gosh, yeah. One was in the last 100 years easily, and then one was a fair bit back from that.
Okay, because the powers of like the monarchy have changed quite a bit, I think. No,
they still have the royal prerogative if there's like hung parliaments or all these types of things. If they can come in and they can re-kick Parliament off with new, like, so they do, from my understanding, which is probably outdated, I'll be honest on that point. I think they do have prerogative powers to still go in and do that.
Yeah, I wonder also, like, if anything might change with the new king, right? Because Queen Elizabeth was very kind of calm and measured always with any responses and stuff, and she wouldn't like get into political stuff. And I wonder if King Charles will be different, if there is like a different way of.
The Royal Mint have already confirmed that at least for the next 2 years they don't plan on changing the face of the currency.
Oh, right.
So there was someone, I think someone put on eBay a £10 note or £20 note for $10,000, hoping that just some American will think, right, I've got to buy this old currency before it turns. Which you think about it, you think, actually, if they're not aware of how this works, like there's billions of pounds in circulation, especially in GDP, Great British Pounds, in Great British Pounds. That someone would be stupid enough to buy a tenner for 10 grand.
Oh, well, I wonder what happens with it. Actually, I'm gonna say it just after the show.
Yeah.
If any deals to be done.
Yeah, I want to see if a gullible American has bought this £20 note for 10 grand. That would be brilliant.
Oh wow. Yeah, but in terms of news and other things, right? We had this. Adam covered some material about the rent controls in Scotland. Do you guys think this is kind of thing that could happen in England?
I think there would be a great deal of reluctance for it
or
to
like
happen in England.
in a isolated place like, I don't know, London or Birmingham, or like where the local kind of government put something in place.
It made me think about the poll tax. Like, they trialed that in Scotland. It seems like they trial all the shit stuff they want to do in Scotland first to gauge how bad the reaction is going to be, and then take a view on it from there. So, I mean, God forbid, you would hope that wouldn't be the next step, but it seems like a natural step in what they're kind of generally trying to do in terms of getting landlords, decreasing individual landlords and getting it all into institutions. I mean, it's a beautiful part of that plan. Not great if you are a landlord, but no, that might be a little bit cynical, pessimistic of me, but hey ho, that's
Yeah, I think they've had rent controls in like New York for like 100 and something odd years, right? And apparently it works to a degree, but people then just sublet, and then the rents aren't. It goes into almost like a black market, and that's what happens when you try and temper these things. It just goes into a black market. That's kind of contra to everything that they're trying to do with rental of landlording. Is they're like, okay, if you want to be a landlord, you can't have all this stuff in your own name. We're going to make it very impractical. You have it in your own name. You need to be a business. You need to operate as a business. This is an enterprise. It's not, being the accidental landlord at the moment. It's not a good time. So you kind of wanted to kind of bring everything across and make it kind of a professional enterprise. And now you're kind of bringing in controls that will black market some of this stuff, and it will. The word across the pond in Europe is that this is really not working in the parts of Germany where they have this now. I think it's like Berlin and places like that.
Yeah.
It's really not working there. And Berlin's, at least in the major cities in Germany, there is quite a vibrant marketplace real estate. Obviously very different from the UK, but still you look at that and you think, I just don't know. And the difference is, I think England view international investment very differently to Scotland and Wales. That's my interpretation. And I think they would be thinking, well, if we want to get all this money from Southeast Asia or China, or before everything kicked off with Russia and America, we want them to feel like they can come into a free enterprise open market. The moment you put that cap on, it's no longer a free enterprise open market. And I think that's where both a Conservative and a Labour government will kind of hiccup around wanting to change.
That's right. And also it's I have a friend, like we actually have like a joint birthday weekend with this friend of mine, and she was looking for a 2-bedroom flat in Wimbledon in around sort of January time, and there was literally nothing that she could get. Like, usual prices for 2-bedroom flats in Wimbledon were about £2,000 to maybe £2,500 for like a fairly decent flat. But when she was looking, that was the time where like a lot of people from Hong Kong were coming to London because of the new regulation that allowed them to kind of get permanent visas and kind of live here. So they were coming and basically offering like £400-500 more a month on properties, paying 6 months a year up front just to secure the properties and secure the rights to get the visas. And that was a kind of artificial way, like artificial demand created, because they didn't really have to live here, but they had needed to have a residence in the UK. And that created a lot of kind of demand, not demand, like a pressure on prices to go up, and the prices of rental properties in London went up a lot, even though the wages didn't, and things like that. So
it's total landlord's market here at the moment. Actually, I was with the lovely Claire Norwood yesterday, and she has some places around kind of near where I am, and she's renting a 3-bedroom place out. She's just kind of done it up, looks amazing. She'd seen like 10 groups, more than that, 12 groups of people all offering above where it's already marketed, just clamoring for this place. And it's the 3-bed is going for more than she's renting out the 4-bed for at the moment. It's bonkers. In fact, if anybody wants to rent a 1-bedroom flat, Zone 1, lovely, over winter, here, I'll show you around. Actually, it's really untidy. But I'm like, great, jump on that. I'm not going to be here over winter. I'm like, right, someone can have this over winter. It's going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Gym, pool.
Do we get commission? 10%? Oh.
So London's crazy at the moment. these people are having to like submit,
Yeah.
So, offers and kind of explain why they should be chosen. It's like, oh my God, this is
and it happens like in all kinds of places that there is demand and people want to move there. I mean, in Lisbon, obviously, so many people coming from all over the world, and the prices for normal people, like the wages in Portugal, the minimum wage is like 700 euros. Now, for 700 euros, it's kind of like a room would cost about 400 to 500 a month, and and properties are about a one bedroom flat about between 700 and 1,000. So it's really difficult for people who live here to kind of catch up with this increased demand and stuff like that. But then at the same time, you go a little bit outside of Lisbon, and suddenly the prices are massively drop because all that demand stays kind of within like certain areas of Lisbon. So
right.
I think it's the rents are direct kind of correlation of low supply, right? And the
Yeah,
government
I mean,
is
this is
encouraging
her
the
stuff.
supply.
Yeah, her stuff and mine is all zone 1, kind of around Vauxhall, New Elm. So it's really well located for transport and everything. And, there's lots of new builds. In fact, we were absolutely delighted. We found a Gales bakery opening up on Monday. We went to go in and they're like, oh, we're not open until Monday. And we're like, oh, we've definitely arrived if we've got a Gales bakery opening here.
Now we know the real reason Helen's extended her trip in London. No, I'm going to Gales Bakery on Monday. This is happening.
They even gave us a free little voucher for a little loaf or a loaf or a cake. I'm like, oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Cake, the way to my heart.
The reality is you cannot count carbs if you didn't pay for them. That's the rules.
Yes.
You didn't pay for the carbs, they don't count. That's a physical law.
So which one is it? Like the Starbucks in Malta by the sea, or is it the Gales Bakery in Elms, 9 Elms?
Oh, ooh, that's tough. But the Starbucks has a cat, so that pips it.
Nice.
I'm missing my coffee by the sea. Actually, it's bleeding 30 degrees there at the moment. Actually, today they were saying it feels like 39. So actually, I'm not missing Malta today. I mean, 39 is just like, well, you know when you were there in June, and it wasn't as hot then, but it's still 30 degrees. So
yeah, and what was the situation like rents and demand and stuff in Malta? Is it kind of?
I think it's picked up since I did a really good deal on my place. So everybody exited during because all the hospitality and tourism and everything obviously shut down. So a lot of foreigners exited during lockdown. Rentals tanked like minimum 30%. So I sell some arbitrage and upgraded it from a small two bedroom flat to a massive 4-bedroom villa and paid like a token increase in rent. So yeah, and so I did a 3-year site and had a 3-year deal on that. Yes. So I'm really happy. But I have itchy feet, you know me. I move every 2 years and I'm already like, oh, maybe we should start looking. And I'm looking around and I'm like, I can't afford to move to anywhere else that I want to because the prices have gone back to normal. I'm like, bugger. But I'm on such a good deal where I am. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's we confirmed that the Malta residence is also top notch.
Yeah, it's the view. I mean, it's very kind of Maltese, they have wood everywhere. It's kind of old fashioned, but the view over to Gozo, and I wake up and that's what I look at. I open my eyes and I'm looking out to Gozo every morning. It's just, it's lovely.
So we've got a couple of comments from the listeners. Yeah, so Scott is saying if it does happen, I mean the rent controls, don't think they can do it on new tenancy, just cap on current renters in the property. Yeah, I think there's lots of ways of doing it, and it might be connected to some central rent or some whatever something.
I,
There's lots of ways it could be done, right?
I imagine there would have to be some kind of, they would take the standard rent deposit scheme and then probably increase the purview of that into some kind of registered rent, like a rent register, where you, in order to let your property, you have to go through the process like the ICR, the EPC, rental deposit. You then have to certify what the rent is. So maybe you have to register the rental agreement on the portal. I imagine that's probably going to be the easiest way for it to be managed. But then again, it is central and local government, so they will create jobs for people and red tape it and make it expensive and drag it out, and it'll be ineffective and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. I don't even want to think about this.
No.
Rent controls would be tricky in England as the government relies so heavily on PRS to bail them out. With social housing and NHS as it is, there's still a desperate shortage. Yeah, there's a massive shortage, and that's the key thing needs to be addressed, and the key thing that like policies should support, and yeah, not with things like Help to Buy, but more with things like what you call like permitted development or encouraging developing in certain kind of areas that at the moment might be too what do you call it
But
restrictive with policies.
I think they should encourage or create grants for development in areas where actually it's ordinarily the the average price of the property doesn't warrant the
Mm,
purchasing of the land, the planning, and the build.
yeah.
And I think if there were grants for that, I think that would work very well because there is a housing shortage, whether it's rental or owning outright. There is a massive shortage. So there are beautiful parts of the country where there are viable areas to build out, but with everything associated with a development, it's not actually feasible to go through and build it out. And I think you could ease quite a lot by enabling that stuff to come forward. I think that's an easy win.
Yeah, 100%. And what I like as well is when like actually a good example of like well developed properties is East London, where they did like especially on Docklands, where they did all the DLR and everything else way before, and now the building blocks and everything, and actually it does make it easier for people to choose to live there and kind of move and do other things because the infrastructure is there,
Was
and
there already? Yeah.
and it all kind of starts with infrastructure sometimes as well. But yeah, like you say, anywhere in around Midlands and upwards, it's difficult to build things where the build cost is like 200 pounds per square foot, including like land acquisition and everything else, and the sale price might be around the same level. Um, so
Yeah, we
yeah,
were presented that deal in was it like a private members club and an event hall with the two car parks, and someone's like, "Well, we
yes,
want like £400,000 for it." And I said, "Well, we think you can get X number of houses." And we're like, okay, well, the houses there are like maybe 170, £180,000, but by the time you build them out at X pound per square foot, there was not only was there nothing in the deal, but you were actively losing money
Yeah.
to build it out. And we were like, well, we can't pay more than like 110 or 120,000
yeah,
pounds for the land. Not that we
we
would
know
want to.
better ways of losing money than that.
Yeah.
There are far more enjoyable ways of losing money.
Exactly. Oh
So
no,
it's a difficult metric, but I think if there were grants available, no, I think the most governments, at least for the last 20 years, have been talking about investing in the Northern Powerhouse, and I think part of that comes down to the infrastructure and the development of new housing. Um, and I think they need to spend more and create these grant packages to enable that to come into fruition.
Indeed, indeed. Um, cool. And there's a couple of other comments from Ivona. Many people use flats on rent-to-rent basis for serviced accommodation, outpricing genuine renters.
Yeah.
Landlords prefer 5-year guaranteed rents. That's reality at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and I guess how some governments are addressing this is through the licensing, like
Yeah.
licensing for, like for example, in Portugal, you need to have a license from the council to even list a property on Airbnb. So you cannot even list something without the actual numbers and everything else. So um,
And in
and
London, you've got the 90-day rule or 80-day rule, whatever it is. You can't
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
yeah, and there's lots of risks as well, because I heard from one of the brokers recently that one of their clients got their mortgage like called in. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
As in like they were using the property for Airbnb, and the lender found out, and straight away they said need the money back as soon as possible in breach of the mortgage terms.
Yeah.
So people do take a bit of risk, quite a bit of risk, by doing that. Yes, so thank you for your comment, Ivona. And Dominic, what do you think of the sad scandal of the thousands of empty UK homes, streets, say, in Liverpool?
I know very little about the Liverpool market, although
I don't.
I think you can pick like a 2-bedroom back to back in Liverpool for like 40 grand. So I don't know. I would imagine it's a rather affordable place to either buy or to rent. So
Yeah, again, like what I see, like around literally around the world, is um, there's so many empty buildings, and they become empty because of like whatever what do you call it, probate issues and things like that, and those things can't really be solved through anything else. It's all about, I mean, they can be solved, but in order to improve that liquidity in the market, there has to be like law that deals with things like that, where people don't come up and don't do certain things. And I don't know. I don't know what's stopping the government to kind of actually introduce legislation to make markets much more liquid, and property inheritance, and or even like taking over properties that been run down for like say 5 years or something like that, because it's not a good thing.
I mean,
they're very.
something on that scale. I mean, that seems to me, and I don't know much about the Liverpool market, to be honest. But would seem an obvious solution would be for like an institution, the guys that can just go in and buy up loads, and whatever it takes to turn that environment or that area back into something attractive for people to live in, whether that be private rented or social housing. Like, they would have the resources and the capability of doing that. Somebody could go in and put at an extreme end, gate the thing and put security on and make it high end. Like, yes, that's not a simple, that doesn't happen quickly, but they would, they could. That's not one person or individual people tackling on its own. That a problem that's of that scale needs somebody that can handle that scale. Yeah, so I don't know why that's, but the incentive, they're not doing it. The incentives can't be there at the moment.
When I worked for Auction House London, I hired this girl. She finished university and she was working for a startup, but she studied geography at university. And you think, well, what's that got to do with this conversation? Well, what's really very interesting is that she studied specifically the migration of peoples, so different demographics, different races, religions, creeds, all that kind of thing. And it was really very interesting. Like, if you kind of, like, in the microclimate that I grew up in like the 70s and 80s, the area of Wembley was a very Jewishy area. In the 90s to the noughties, it became a very Islamic kind of area.
Yeah.
And then it became a very Indo-Asian kind of area. And then you
Right.
take the Edgware Road, that was
Yeah.
a very Jewishy area. And now it's like a very kind of Middle Eastern, Iranian kind of,
Yeah.
and there's like a movement and a migration of peoples that kind of, as they populate an area and they grow in social economic kind of independence and they get more and more wealth and things like that, they then move into areas that they believe are wealthy until they take that over. And then the people that occupied that place before then go, okay, well, we've moved up now, so now we can go to that. And it starts to move gradually. So, and I think you see quite a lot of that, not just, I think a lot of it does come down to infrastructure, and then it obviously comes down to the communities of those areas to invest in their community and in their area.
Yeah.
And then they move. And I think that's actually, it's a really interesting part of the economic societal growth and change patterns. And I think it's difficult to kind of map it live. But I think if you were looking at it every 20 years, 15, 20 years, I think you'd see massive migrations and changes. We were driving up here yesterday, and I was like, oh, this area looks quite nice and things like that. And I was always in London, either West London or Northwest London. I kind of thought to myself, okay, I lived in South London for maybe 6 months at one point, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. This isn't for me. So I was always like, right, I've got to be north of the river, right? A completely arbitrary statement. It means nothing to nobody. But and then I was like, well, let's actually move out. Let's do 50, 60 miles from London. And we're probably, as the crow flies, maybe 60 miles from London, but as you drive, it's like 90. And I'm kind of like, well, I really feel kind of like now from where I am, that small stepping stone out of London, I could permanently live maybe 200 or 300 miles from London quite comfortably. But where does that put me? I don't really know. I've not looked into it, but it's kind of like I can. The idea is we can work from anywhere now in our business. We literally, I'm Piot's in Portugal. I'm now in Northampton. We could position ourselves anywhere and still be not just fully operational, but actually I think we're more effective now that we're not London centric. We're not physically placed in London. So now it's kind of like, well, if I decide to move another 50 miles north of where I am now, I could buy a 5-bedroom detached house with a couple of acres for only about 30 or 40 grand more than the property I'm in now. And that's got a great deal of attraction because, okay, the cost of living doesn't change massively, but the quality of life changes.
Yeah.
But in reality, if I'm honest, the pressure from the wife and the work husband to move to Portugal is actually quite strong.
I'm not pressing anyone to do anything.
No, but you make a really good argument, which is repeated on a semi-regular basis.
No, I just I guess I don't argue or like say it, but it's just like when people come to Portugal, they seem to kind of and it
Stay.
seems like there's a big kind of wave of people wanting to live somewhere else, and Portugal seems like a place of choice for many. I don't know if there's a similar wave in Malta, but that
I
stream is
keep
probably
bringing
more
people over,
constant.
but I've not convinced any yet. But
Okay. Oh wow.
But it's a really easy place to live, Malta. That's people. That's what I get asked all the time. Why Malta? Why Malta? And actually, my parents bought a timeshare out here years ago. That's the main reason. So I started coming. But because it is a kind of an ex-British protectorate, it's just a really easy place to live. Everybody speaks English. We drive on the same side. The legal system allegedly is the same as the UK. All those type of things. They pick and choose and implement the ones they do and don't want to do. But it's a really easy place to be, whilst actually still having a very firm, clear own identity as well. So, easy to get back and forth from. Well, to the UK is. Other places are a bit harder. Like I was looking to come to Lisbon, wasn't I? Was it last year? I was like, oh my God, I've got to like fly through here and here and here and here. But it's very well connected to the UK. So that makes it really easy for me when I come back for filming or judging or whatever it is. So yeah.
Brilliant. More comments from Ed, who just fought an empty house fine. I love it, fighting fines. I got about 4 or 5 councils in London overturned on fines. So, well done, Ed. Proud of you. Property tax 3 times normal rates for empty property. Do they have the system anywhere else in the UK?
Yeah, they use it as a deterrent from empty housing. So some areas do have it. There's trying to think where we almost got stung for this. This was in West London, so in like West Drayton. This was like 13, 14 years ago, and it was a big old building, and we got it exemption or part exemption for a period of time because we were doing the property up. But the moment that part exemption ran out, because not only was it a part exemption, but it was time restricted. I don't know if they still have it there or not. They definitely had it in the late 2000s. The council tax went absolutely through the roof. Like if you had the property let and separated out, it would have been like a third of what it was when it was empty. And they just said, yeah, well, hurry up, because the longer it stays like that, the longer you're going to pay those rates. And I think we managed to appeal part of it because there was I can't remember what it was. It was like an archaeological survey or a bird survey or some other crap survey. So we managed to get an extension on the part exemption. But yeah, some of them are quite militant on it. And I think that actually harkens back to what Dominic had said. 10 grand. Wow.
10 grand. That is even a
Wow.
bigger win. That's how would that be 10 grand? Like that would be like 3 times the normal rates. The normal rates would be what, £1,500, £2,000? Say £2,000.
So that must have been over more than one tax-paying year, right? That must have.
Yeah, that would be like 2 years or so.
Yeah, they must be backdating it.
Yeah.
Well, nicely done, Ed. Yeah.
Yes, it's a big win. Brilliant. And another one from Matt. My experience of moving out of London is hours is far enough. Not sure if I understand it.
I think he's saying moving hours outside of London is far enough.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Okay. Brilliant. Well, what else to cover today? What's the thing? Burning questions? Anyone? Or do you guys have any suggestions for moving this conversation away from fines and rent controls?
And conspiracy theories, yeah.
Conspiracy theories. We need a fun subject for the last few minutes of the call. We need to end on the positive note. Cool. Dominic has asked a question: do councils still CPO on empty properties? No.
Local and central governments are really very reluctant to do CPOs. Because again, that undermines the free market. I mean, although you get market value on the CPO, maybe a little bit more, because sometimes they do that. It's a very autocratic kind of process rather than a democratic process, and they try and distance themselves from that. There are exceptions. When I worked in Elephant and Castle about 9-10 years ago, or at least I was in an office in Elephant and Castle 9-10 years ago, and behind Elephant and Castle station they had this long big building that was tenanted. They basically rehoused the tenants and they CPO'd it. I think they raised it to the ground. I haven't been on Westminster Bridge Road for a long time now. Raised it to the ground and going to redevelop it. And in that respect, I think that does work. But there were people that were still selling those flats like a year or two after the CPO had been said that it was going to come in, so it was in the red zone in the CPO kind of report. And when I started working for Auction House London, there were a couple of flats that were going up for sale in that block, and they were still being rented because the CPO wasn't going to be actioned for like another 5 years. They weren't actually going to start doing it for 5 years. And the argument that some of the buyers were making was, I'm going to pay X for it because I will evidence I paid X for it. I'm going to rent it out for the next 2 years, and I've got a guaranteed buyer at the end. So I'm guaranteed to get my money back, and I'm going to make the rent in the interim.
As long as that's what they are prepared to pay, that's quite a risk.
It is, yeah. But I mean, some people just kind of took it at face value. And you'd be unsurprised, especially the 3 people on this call, very unsurprised the amount of people that will take stuff like that on face value.
Indeed.
Ooh, that's a huge risk. Actually, can I make a call out? Because actually I've got somebody asked me about a CPO and it's not my area of expertise. One of the property sisters has got a challenge, or a friend of hers got a challenge at the moment. So if anybody knows any lawyers or people with experience in CPOs, there's a kind of unfortunate situation at the moment where she's facing something like that. So if anybody can know somebody good in that area, can you get in touch with me so I can pass the details on to this lady?
Yeah, on things like that, we normally recommend people chat with David Burns from RFB Legal.
Yeah.
Oh, right, great. Okay.
He's solved quite a lot of kind of litigious and other kind of cases on things where developers owed money to I don't know, their clients, or those like things where like with commercial tenants and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that the CPOs would come into similar kind of category.
Brilliant. Cool. That's great.
And they've got a massive team as well. So if he doesn't know something, there'll be someone in the team that probably can solve things.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant. Cool. There's a couple of comments asking how the property elevator went from Scott and from Bushra. And I guess, guys, you slept in. I think you missed the first 5 minutes of the chat. You have to rewind after the thing and
it was good. Thank you for asking. It was really good fun. We always have a good laugh. It's exhausting because we see about 8 pitches per day at least, and but a really good mix, because I think last series there was a lot of like PD, commercial to resi stuff. Actually, it's much more balanced, a lot much more of a mix this time, so I think that will make the program more interesting. But there's some real characters as well. It's sometimes the deal might not be great, but they're really interesting people. Lots of ladies are all really sweet little lady, bless her, just at the beginning of the deal. But some people you want to like wrap up in cotton wool, and you're like, please don't do this deal. Please just like with more juice in it. But lots of deals got done again, including me. I've done one. Yay! Yes, can't say more than that. But actually, I'm going to tell you two something about it when we get off the call, which you'll like.
Of behind the scene conversation. I'll record it in my phone. Only for paid subscribers.
Sunday special OnlyFans.
I think OnlyFans are watching us anyway, so. Oh, cool. Well, I think what was the name? Rick Gannon's mentioned something. He signed up a deal with Lad Bible and those guys. So maybe OnlyFans are gonna propose as a deal as well. Who knows? Cool, amazing. Scott is saying that he will want to come on the last season, but the deal didn't stack up.
Oh no.
What would
Next
you
year
suggest in
round
situations like that? People just like have a deal that kind of is 50-50.
What I would say, actually, if it really doesn't stack up, then then yeah, then
Find
it's
a
not
better
for
one.
us. But if it's marginal, actually, what we've seen with some people is, actually, I'm thinking about one of the ladies. There was a deal up north somewhere, and it was kind of marginal. But when you've got 5, people that are used to doing things, and we all do things in different ways. When you've got 5 more sets of eyes on a deal, the guys, like the couple of guys that did make an offer, were like, actually, we could do this, and then we could do this, and have you thought about this? So whilst it did kind of just about stack for her, once they'd had input from a couple more angels, then actually it began to look a lot more attractive deal. So I think that's worth considering if you think if there could be another angle that you haven't thought about, or it's worth kind of presenting that. And actually, to be honest, it's worth applying anyway, because even if it's not up to scratch, they get filtered out, so somebody else can take a view on it. We're not the ones that filter them. That's the production company, so we don't get to see them before they're on they're
And I think it's always good applying for things like that, because even if you just apply and the deal is bad, I mean, it gets you in the kind of mindset of finding another one. It's better. And actually being in the game. And
it does, and you can show the type of things that you do. I mean, I don't want loads of people applying with crap deals, but if you're but it's good to get in front and make the kind of the connection and show the type of thing that you do. Submit it, apply. What there's nothing to lose. You don't get on, well, you've not lost anything, have you? So the application form, the first bit of the application is really simple, really easy. So apply. So we're filming another one. We've got another one planned for next year. We did 2 this year, but that was a bit much. So although we're going to be announcing something actually this week. Ooh, should have been announced before now, but hey ho. But we're going to be announcing something this week that you might want to keep your eye out for, Scott. Friday. Drum roll.
Nice one.
The elevator. So watch this space.
Cool. The news are coming. Amazing. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap up for today. It's been great chat, and we'll be back next week at a time to be specified. Might change it a little. Might mix it all up. It's been almost a year. I was checking, it's been almost a year since we restarted the Sunday specials. Let's see, next month will be 1 year.
Yeah,
going strong. It's proper streak, winning streak. Nice. All right. Well, thanks everyone for birthday wishes. So those who posted those messages and comments and all sorts of things. Really nice to hear from you. And that's all. Enjoy this Sunday.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Lovely weekend.
Bye.